Hey everybody, hope you're all doing good. I decided to make a little quick video on shuffles, and in particular the type of shuffle that Bonzo would often play when Zeppelin would do their medley of blues numbers. They would do a quick shuffle type beat and run through a whole bunch of classic R&B tunes like Bottle Up and Go, Boogie Chillun, You Gotta Move. If you see the Royal Albert Hall concert video, and how many more times in the middle of that they go into this medley of blues numbers, and then later they would do that in Whole Lotta Love. And that particular beat is a basic, straightforward shuffle. It's a two-handed shuffle, I guess I call it. Some people, I think, refer to it as a Texas shuffle. I'm not too sure on the exact terminology, but with shuffles there's a lot of variations off of the basic theme, meaning you can play the right hand in unison with the left hand, but the main point is to accent the 2 and the 4 on the snare drum. So whether you're playing that in unison or you're playing straight quarters on the hi-hat and doing the shuffle with the left hand, or you're just shuffling into the 2 and 4 on the left hand, there's a lot of different possibilities. So I'm gonna play through a few of these and just kind of break them down, play them slowly, and then I'll demonstrate what Bonzo used to do on the Boogie Chillun medley stuff. So just to get started now, a basic shuffle, like if I'm playing a jazz gig and someone calls a shuffle, what I'm going to play most of the time is kind of like what I call an Art Blakey shuffle. Art Blakey, the great jazz drummer, is famously associated with many great iconic rhythms, and the shuffle is one of them. There's a song called Moanin'. If you've never heard that, look it up. Moanin' by Art Blakey. And that's kind of a classic mid-tempo shuffle. Now I'll play that beat, which is basically just a swing pattern with the hi-hat on 2 and 4 and the snare on 2 and 4, but with the shuffle beat. So that's this. Okay, so for example, right there, I was walking the bass drum, but I'm walking it a little more intently than I would be if I were ghosting the bass drum, as they call it, or feathering the bass drum. So feathering is a way of supporting the beat without actually making too much of an audible sound from the bass drum. It's kind of like you're almost tapping or counting with your right foot against the bass drum head. Here's an example of that. Now you could see there toward the end of that example that the beater is making contact with the head, but it's not really quite very audible. It's almost like I'm just counting with my foot. The main part of that shuffle beat is happening up on top, and because it's straight ahead jazz, the bass drum doesn't figure as prominently as it would in rhythm and blues, or more like a rock and roll type context. But that's pretty much the origin of the beat. It's coming from old rhythm and blues, which has got a swing feel to it, and you can play either a unison left hand, right hand, or you can play a dang da dang, dang da dang, like a swing rhythm, as I just did. So I'll play both of those examples, but now I'm going to add more bass drum. I'll play that slower. Now I'll play it with the right and left hand in unison. So there I started to incorporate the rim shot a little more on the 2 and 4, which is where we're headed with the Boogie Mama beat. And the tempo picks up then for that one. So the thing that gets challenging when playing this is to keep up that unison right and left hand as the tempo increases. So I'm going to play it a little bit faster now, and I'm going to move to the hi-hat rather than the ride cymbal so you can see this demonstrated. Okay, so now there's some little variations there, a couple little different bass drum accents off the beat and so forth. So as you play this rhythm, of course, you're not just going to keep playing just that one repetitive beat without any kind of embellishments. As it goes on, you add little things like a skip on the bass drum note. You can also come away from the constant shuffle in the left hand, the 1, 2, 3, 4 shuffle, and maybe leave a note or two out, like this. Now, especially as the tempo goes up, it makes it a little easier to not play all of those in a line. If you watch the Royal Albert Hall footage, Bonzo is pretty much playing double-handed shuffle throughout. Whatever you can see, at least, it's pretty much the double-handed shuffle. But I'm sure he kind of loosens it up a little bit here and there. So that tempo is kind of like, let's see, right about here, like. Okay, so there, as you can see, as the tempo picks up, I'm taking more liberties with the shuffle beat. And whether you're playing on the hi-hat with the right hand or you're up on the ride cymbal, it's basically the same kind of thing. So let's move to the ride cymbal and play that same kind of rhythm. Okay, now, if you are familiar with the Boogie Mama version from The Song Remains the Same, The tempo's a little brighter, and it sounds to me like Bonzo is playing kind of a mix of the straight quarter notes on the hi-hat and then the shuffle unison beat with the snare drum. And because the tempo is brighter, it becomes more challenging to keep that up over the course of several choruses. They actually bring the volume down, and he goes from the hi-hat or the cymbal, can't remember at that point, to the, I think he goes to the hi-hat, and then he goes on to the rim of the tom-tom. And he's playing quarters on the tom-tom, but he's keeping the left hand going, which is quite challenging. So that's kind of something like this. And so on. So those are the basic nuts and bolts of that particular shuffle beat. Now if you're playing a much slower tempo, the same rules apply, and that is that there's a lot of room for variation, but that's the basic principle of the beat, which is this. Shook me. Very similar, just slowed down to a great extent. So that's the way I play the shuffle, and I switch it up. You can also play straight quarters. And you could play the swing rhythm. Okay, so that's about it for this episode on shuffles. I hope the information is helpful and useful to you. And please subscribe if you haven't already, and thank you very much for watching. Cheerio.